Thanks everyone for sticking around for this. Smells like in and out here. I'm Luiz Eduardo. I'm going to talk about online and some sort of offline banking fraud, phishing, and stuff like that. The purpose of the talk, the motivation of the talk, is to talk about some of the differences from the online banking and the whole banking system that we have here in the U.S. and some other places. So being born and raised in Brazil and living here for quite a while now and traveling back and forth sometimes, I kind of had the motivation to do a presentation talking about the differences because in places where the law really works or the system is different, it's simpler for the user to make use of the bank or the ATM and stuff like that. And in other places where things sometimes don't work that well, it has to be, some more steps have to be added to the system to make it more complicated for the user sometimes and safer for the financial institutions. So really quick, going to talk a little bit about it. Not going to spend time talking about what phishing is and some other techniques of doing phishing because most of you know about it and some of you might know way better than I do. I'm gonna try to focus only on the differences and stuff like that. So we're gonna talk about the evolution of phishing. I'm gonna jump to ATM fraud, which is really big outside of the U.S. in some places. In the U.S., not that much, but there are cases of it. Have some videos that I put from the internet and try to get into some sort of conclusion about this. So about the history of phishing, what is phishing? It's on the next slide, by the way. But it's a means to a fraud. So with everybody using the internet, it became clear to people that want to do bad stuff to use that channel, that vector, that attack vector, to get either people's identity information, so identity theft, or just simply money. And part of it is the whole marketing saying, no, use the internet is easy, buy stuff from the internet. Some of us are even maybe the cause of this. You go to your family, one way or another, you say, well, use the internet to do this. And then they don't have that much knowledge on how to do that, right? So the phishers, people who prepare the phishers, they thought that it was a good idea to use this type of let's call it exploitation. And the intro that I put here, or not the intro, but the title that I put, online and offline. By offline, I mean that, well, it's not really online banking, it's not internet banking, but it's all of it is, of course, tied up to the same system. So being on the same system, somehow you're going to get screwed one way or another, right, if you fall for one of these. So what is phishing? A means to a fraud. That's the part that I'm not going to spend too much time. I have a slide for each one of these topics here. And some of them I'm going to go really fast. And so the difference here, why some places, some third world countries had to be a little bit more advanced. Not nowadays. Nowadays, the technology is the same. The protections are the same all over the place. But why it was different for a while. I remember seeing at TourCon 2 years ago, I think, presentation from a fellow from WebSense. And at that time, like screen captures of virtual keyboards was something fairly new. And that's not new anymore. But that started actually back in Brazil because I remember almost a decade ago when I moved to the States, I had in Brazil an online internet banking access. And when I moved here up in the boonies in the Northeast, I went to the bank to open an account and I just asked, I'm like, so how's the internet banking? They're like looking at me, internet banking, like banking through the internet? I'm like, yeah. They're like, we don't have that. Of course, like 2 years later, it showed up. But at that point in 97, was totally new, at least for the bank that I used. And that was something that I was using for a few years already. The thing is about the third world countries is that usually they're not the targets for the phishing. Because people who's got the money pretty much is here and some places in Europe. So the target is mostly first most developed countries, and the people that are trying to or creating phishing kits and stuff like that or benefiting from this somehow are abroad. The anti-phishing work group divides phishing in pretty much 4 flavors, let's call it like this: financial, retail, ISPs, and other. I'm not going to talk about the others and the ISPs, neither the retail. I'm going to focus on online banking and any sort of financial institution, credit union kind of stuff. Identity, so the goal of the phishing on the financial market is identity theft, account withdrawal, like sometimes take all the money out of an account, buy stuff with somebody else's money, and due to technology advance, to the evolution of technology, some banks, they want to push the technology to be used. And as probably you saw in most of the talks that happened today and yesterday here, sometimes security is left, it's an afterthought, right? It's left for, oh, let's push this thing to work, let's release this new product, and then we'll figure out what to do with security, or don't even think about security. Why people create this type of mechanism for fraud? Pretty much because there's a high return of investment. It's fairly cheap to deploy fake servers or fake websites and release spam all over the place and stuff. And it's risk-free because sometimes this is, as I said, it's developed abroad, and these people are abroad. And although, of course, there are places, not places, there are the 3-letter agencies here that might take care of it, or at least one of them should take care of it. It's hard to go after these guys. They're not going to leave the place where they are, and most likely there are no laws for that. Excuse me. Another thing is the lack of use of human interaction. So when you're doing this kind of stuff, you're not, for the user and for whomever is doing the attack, right? There's no human interaction. Although you're doing a very bad thing for somebody, you really don't see that, so that's okay in a sort of way. And the lack of user knowledge is a problem too, and that's something that is being worked on. May somebody bring me a glass of water? Not wanting to ask too much. I think it's the in and out effect here. Going on and coughing. So how do people fall for these things? Spam, the most famous one. Everybody knows this. Out of 1 million spam messages sent, at least 0.01% is going to fall for it. And that's a lot, still a lot. And people, they get educated. They use antiviruses, anti-spam, and stuff like that. But the spams get also smarter, and people that create that. Thanks, Ru.
Sure.
Okay. Better. So the other thing is some websites. Well, here, any website, any bank website that you go, now there is a security thing there. Before it didn't used to be there. But about the spam, sometimes the banks, when there's like a spam on the wild, let's put it like this, the banks say, we did not send this, which is really cool. It's really good for the user to know that that email that he or she might have received is not from the bank. But I've seen cases where the bank says, this is not how we do it, this is actually how we do it. And then, of course, they copy that thing. Not really smart, in my opinion. after they get that email, they go to the forged or fake websites. These websites, usually they're not hosted here. They're not up for more than a few days. And that might be the reason why the emails, they go out like seasonally. That means they set up a whole bunch of servers or whatever, and then they send out all those spams. That's why at least I noticed that sometimes I get spams every day, but sometimes I get way more than I used to. How do people get to these fake websites? Number one, the email, they spam. They just go there and click. I don't have screenshots here. I don't think I need for this type of crowd. The email might be directing to a fake website. Well, here people use a lot of MySpace. Abroad, people use a lot of Orkut, Google. And I've seen there you have links to malware and stuff like that. Click here to see whomever's, your friend's picture, whatever. You download, that's going to be a malware, and the user is not going to know. Or simply by instant messaging. And of course, after the download, either it changes locally on the host entry, the DNS saying bank.com is going to be the bad site's IP address, so it's going to direct it there. Or there was that case not too long ago where there was a malware that was changing the DNS entries on the gateway. So there was a vendor that was, I think, mostly affected by it. And what the Trojan did, it didn't change anything on the user machine, but look for the default gateway, try to log in with the default password, which most of the people don't change, especially in the Soho market. And would change, instead of using the ISP DNS entry, would stick there a fake DNS, the IP address of a bad DNS, a DNS that has poison entries. So the guy says, go to mybank.com. His machine is fine, but his gateway is directing the machine to the wrong place. So that wouldn't help too much to have some sort of anti-malware or anti-spyware on the machine. And, of course, they have keyloggers and screenshot loggers, click loggers, and stuff like that. Sorry. Voice phishing, not really related to VoIP, but VoIP could really help doing this type of attacks, meaning you can put an asterisk server somewhere doing man in the middle or doing something like that, that people would call in and be either you're eavesdropping on whatever it's been going on that call, or is just really faking a call center of a bank or something like that. How do people call this number, though? It all depends. Could be an email that received, this is your bank, there's a problem with your information. Don't reply to this email, call us back at 1-800, blah, blah, blah. And there's a problem with it, right? How do you know? If you're somehow smart, you're going to call your bank, the number that you know that is in the back of your card, and hopefully that's the bank. Sometimes the number they give you is not that number behind the card that is written behind your credit card or your ATM card. There was this new thing, I think last week came out, or 2 weeks ago, some phishing, call forwarding phishing attack. I thought it was extremely lame, but since I had the stock, I just put it there. Pretty much you're call forwarding your phone to somebody else's. And this is the *72, and you can go online and look for it to know specifics. And so you can get an email or you can get a voicemail. You get home and there's a voicemail in your machine saying call back this number. How do you know that number, that message is real or not? So I don't have audio here, but I'll try to make this work. So an example that I actually got from me, let's see if this works.
This is the fraud.
Can you guys hear anything?
Department for Citi American Advantage Gold World MasterCard calling for Luiz Eduardo. For your protection, it is very important that we speak with you. Please contact us at 1-877-215-2648 by November 19th, 2006, and enter access number 569 when prompted. Again, that number is 877-215-2648. Thank you. Goodbye.
So that's sounds real, right? But or actually, you don't know. So just for fun, I went to Google. I typed text to speech. Went to an AT&T website, and I could do this.
This is the Fraud Early Department for Citi Gold Advantage Whatever MasterCard calling for everyone at the LayerOne Security Conference. For your protection, it is very important that we speak with you. Please call us back at 1-800-YOU-GOT-OWNED, and we will collect your personal information.
So, and this was done like in 2 minutes using the internet and Google, and that's it, right? And audio Audacity. Somebody can put this on a Asterix box or something like that. It's fairly easy for somebody to spoof this. So it's out there. And tell you the truth, go ahead, Strom.
Yeah, no, one thing actually that I did a while back was I was playing around with this, and I went and I called my bank, and I recorded their IVR menu, and I pressed a whole bunch of different things that read back numbers to me. And I took that into Adobe Audition, spliced it up, and put it on my Asterisk box, and had an exact sounding replica of my bank on my Asterisk box as proof of concept. So you don't even need to generate different recordings. You can have the actual real recordings.
So
you
I
also have the data forwarded on from an Asterisk box collected and then interfacing with the actual bank.
Exactly. That would be the man in the middle. So Strom's point was that one time he's called his bank and just recorded every single menu they had and put that on his edited it and put on his Asterisk box, and he had exactly the same call menu. And the other thing is the Asterisk box intercepting everything, right? And then that's another, that'll be the eavesdropping on man in the middle. So the guy's really talking to his bank, but somebody's recording whatever is being talked. So I really don't know. I think the solution, right there.
What's an
Asterisk box? Asterisk is, somebody wants to answer?
It's an open source PBX application that runs on a Linux PC. It's a telephone exchange, yeah.
And even you can have that, there's a live CD free distribution that you can download and has the Asterisk pre-configured, right? What's the name of the
Asterisk Now.
Asterisk Now. So moving on. SMS would be a new way. I don't think this is really being used yet, but there's a lot of spam over SMS some places abroad, starting from the carrier that you use. You land somewhere, you turn on your phone, it says, welcome to this, if you want to do, welcome to this carrier, if you want to do this and that and that. Do not look for another network. Well, if people start sending SMSs all over the place, now there are like free websites that you can send free SMSs worldwide. So that'll be a way to have a person to go to a web page or to call a certain number, like one of the fake numbers, like we were discussing in the last slide, or telling, go here and you're going to get free stuff. If you fill out the survey, you're going to get an iPhone or something like that. Wi-Fi phishing, well, put this here just because it's the result is the same as DNS poisoning. So it's on the Wi-Fi side would be the evil twin attack, meaning you have an access point that is using the same SSID as a good access point. And if that fake access point and that fake access point has bad DNS entries, it's sending you to the bad servers. So, and it better be like mostly used in hotspots, not corporations. So in hotspots, you go to to your favorite $5 cafe shop, and you turn on your computer, you see the SSID that you used to connect, and you connect to it, and you're on the internet, and you say, oh, okay, let me do my online banking, and actually you're going to a bad website. You don't even know about it. Or simply a man-in-the-middle attack, even though like most of the connections to banks now use SSL, but we're going to talk about SSL in a little bit.
So SSL will stop that attack.
In some cases, yeah, but we're going to get to SSL. Web 2.0 stuff, not only Web 2.0, but stuff mostly related to Web 2.0 would be JavaScript, AJAX, cross-site scripting, and even man-in-the-middle with some of these applications. So I'm not going to talk about this because Billy Hoffman, who knows a lot about this, he did a talk at ShmooCon a few weeks ago. Go to shmoocon.org/2007/videos, I think, or just Google for it. There's a presentation from Billy, and part of it he mentions how this is possible. A point that I found here is what it says there in Portuguese is a lab that used to make CDs and DVDs is found in a city in Brazil. That means they found a place that would like make CDs and DVDs with personal information, what would be in the U.S. name, address, social security numbers, and stuff. So why some places you don't have to try to do the technology stuff to buy a phishing kit or something like that to steal people's thing. You just go downtown somewhere and walk down the street, and for $50 US you can get a CD with all this information. Last time I went to Brazil, not trying to get in trouble, I went to one of these places, which is just a street that sells all kinds of electronic stuff, and on the street they have the little stands, and the guys selling, they sell DVDs, movie DVDs, and CDs with applications and stuff like that. Like we heard in China is the same thing, and other places too. But they have the regular commercial stuff, but if you ask, oh, do you have the social security listing, whatever, they're like, yeah, for what state do you want? And they do it by state, and it costs $50 US. So sometimes they get busted, but the problem is bigger than that, right? Here's another example that the director of intellectual property from Microsoft, he was in São Paulo, Brazil not too long ago, and they took him to this place. So the picture there is actually from the street that I told you. So the stands are exactly like that. They're like this booth here, and you have all kinds of software. So for $5 US, you get a copy of Windows Vista and whatever. And then if you ask for the good stuff, they reach underneath or whatever bag they have, and again, they say, oh, what do you want? And you can get that. It's really bad. So comparing this to what we live here, hopefully we're not going to see this around here. But the thing is, now I think it became a trend to have every other week or so for the past year, you hear, oh, some company's computer with thousands of people's information got stolen. And what happens to this, right? Sometimes nothing, sometimes I bet you yes. How to resolve the problem? Well, in the past decade, there were like several solutions for the problem, and of course technology evolves and the attacks also evolve. It comes down at the end to who's responsible for the damage, right? That's an interesting point, and I'm going to get into the ATM machines in a little bit. But here, with a hidden fee or not, your money is secure. So if you fall, like if you get your credit card statement or something and you call your bank and say, I didn't buy this, of course you're not going to get the money right away, but eventually you will. And it's not going to take you, it's not too much of a hassle. It seems to be easy, but actually somehow you're paying for it. But it's okay. In other places, it's not exactly how it works. They put like stupid laws sometimes to protect the stronger side, saying, well, internet banking actually is just something that we did to facilitate your life. It's not our responsibility at all. So there are cases and cases. And at the ATM part, I'm going to talk about that. So the solutions, to wrap up the online banking kind of thing. Solutions is use of SSL, as it was mentioned. SSL is going to create a secure tunnel between the end user and the server. Problem with that, the connection is secure. There's no doubt about that. Let's put it like this. But when you have not bad DNS entries, but when you have websites with name or fake websites with domain names really close to the real name. So if you do a typo, you fat finger something that says instead of my bank is mybank1.com, you're going to fall into this server that actually has a valid certificate. Eventually they're going to bust this guy, but again, the server is not going to be up for more than a few days. So your client is not going to complain that that it has a bad certificate because it's using a real certificate. And for the guy who paid $200 for the valid certificate, that's fine because he's going to get way more money than that. The other problem with SSL would be if you have some sort of malware or keylogger or some sort of screen capture click logger. So the connection is good, but at the end, the connection, not the connection, but the transaction is compromised. Somebody's capturing user credentials somehow. I've seen this only in Brazil, the second point there. Some banks, they push applications to the client. So they want to have some sort of control over the client to make sure the guy is not doing a bad thing. So it's not sending an anti-spyware or an anti-malware client. It's something else, but in the same sense. But again, I don't like the idea of pushing something or getting something pushed to my machine to be able to use a service. Of course, you're going to have in the terms of use and stuff like that, but I don't like that. For me, it's the same thing as pushing something that might be bad. Don't want to rant about the people that might be doing bad coding for these things or not. What else was used? CAPTCHAs, which not totally perfect. I saw something not too long ago about this. Maybe somebody saw. We all know that there are OCRs that can read the CAPTCHAs. Sometimes I cannot read the freaking thing, but the OCRs do. But I saw one website that actually gave me a string and said which one of the letters there are not, are not letter A. So you have to actually understand. You have to put an intelligent answer on that thing. I saw only one website, and I thought it was really neat, simple and neat. Other solutions, the usual ones, anti-spam, anti-spyware, anti-malware, both for the enterprise and home. On enterprises, you can have this sort of stuff like inline on the network, not only or not on the desktops themselves. There are some smaller appliances for home. So you see that some antivirus vendors, they have now small boxes. There are your gateway, your access point, and also run some sort of anti-virus or malware and stuff like that. Didn't try one, and I don't know if I want to. And also as part of the solution, but now on the bank's end, of course, the really large corporate financial institutions, they have their incident response team and stuff like that. But during my research, I saw that some banks actually outsource their phishing incident response handling to some company that only does that and pen testing and stuff like that. But the idea is to take down the offending site. So I thought there are people making money with it, which is kind of cool on the defensive side. Yep.
One thing I've been fairly impressed with is a bank that I'm going to not name. They're doing things like you initially set up response questions where it'll challenge you with a question that supposedly only you'll know. Then it'll provide you with the place to enter your password, and they're doing like random images that you choose, which is, a good idea, except you can just tick remember this and it'll never ask you again.
So thanks. The comment was there are some banks, or at least one bank, that is doing something that is like it has challenge questions that you create the questions or you upload images and stuff like that. And the idea is really good, but in a few slides I'm going to get to the problem of this, or I'll send you to a website that has a really good white paper on how this is not effective and how SiteKey doesn't really protect that. So SSL, I talked about that. There's always the human factor too. So the SSL connection is good, but you don't know what's behind the client's computer or in the client's computer. Virtual keyboards could be keylogger, could be click screen, shot loggers. SiteKey was what we just talked about, is the thing about upload here the picture of your dog. And here it works, but here it explains how to do a man in the middle with that. So it is cool, but so another thing talking about SSL and this SiteKey thing, I didn't have time to actually get to the bottom of this. That's why I didn't put on any slide. But apparently there are like issues when you have some sort of SSL proxy in the network. So because somehow that has to fake to kind of do a man in the middle too. So you never know. Maybe the whole solution works, but the network admin or the security person responsible for that appliance didn't do a good job, and if that thing gets compromised, somebody else could be doing bad stuff with that. There's the security card. I don't have really good pictures about this, but think of what is that? Is it challenge response card or a poor man's one-time password token? So my mom has one of these because the bank that she uses in Brazil has that. Once a month, or I think it depends, of course, on the usage too. It's a one-time card password, but it has like 40 passwords. So she gets that on the mail, and when she does internet banking, well, she doesn't, but when a user does, besides the PIN number that you know, once you want to do a transaction, it's going to ask you, okay, now that you want to do this transfer or this payment, whatever, type password number 29 in your card. So you go, oh, number 29 is this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you type 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to revisit this. This is also used for ATM transactions, which make a really pain in the butt. Some places use real tokens. They're expensive. At least in Brazil, they're given for free for the high-profile customers. So it's the guy that actually doesn't even look at his account. Somebody else, his secretary or something, does. And to be able to use this account, you have to use a real token. And some other, or if the client is willing to pay for it. So if you want to do banking and don't want to use the poor man's version, you pay, I don't remember now how much it is. Some falling out of the financial institution thing here in the U.S., I think AOL started using that several years ago. I don't know if they still do offer this as a service, and PayPal announced that not too long ago for $5 a month, I think. So that's pretty much it for online banking. I'm going to kind of go back when it matters, but talk a little bit about ATM fraud. What is ATM fraud? Is, again, take money from somebody else's account or just from the bank. So what type of problems do you have? Let me just see if I have this. No, I don't. So what problems do we have? Credit card stealing and the PIN. The PIN is something that the person knows, so it's virtually impossible to steal. No, somebody can put a sticker on the card and have it written down on the wallet or something. Not totally impossible. Card cloning. It's mag stripes and stuff like that. Easy to clone. You still have to know the PIN. Kind of the same problem. Fake ATM machines. I think that was a common thing at DEF CON a few years ago. And it happened it was normal in some other places too. Fake ATM machine covers. So I know lots of people who work like in the security departments of banks in Brazil, not dealing with ATMs themselves, but they all tell me the same thing. Before you use any ATM, and now I do to any ATM that I use anywhere. You just shake the thing to make sure the thing doesn't come out in your in your hand before you use it, because we're going to see some stuff in a few slides that they put fake covers on the ATMs.
Lee?
Yep.
Sorry, just one thing to note. It wasn't fake ATMs. The company that was providing the ATMs decided to customize them for DEFCON. So they went onto the site and grabbed a whole bunch of logos off the logo contest page and ran the ATMs up, not realizing that it would freak the shit out of everyone.
So Zach's comment was what, DEFCON 9 or DEFCON 8, something like that. Actually, it wasn't a fake ATM. The company who had the ATM there, they decided to be nice to the conference, so they went to the website, to the contest, to the logo contest page, and they downloaded all the images there and put on the ATM. So that freaked everybody out. Hacking the ATM itself, there are several ways to do it. One, I have a video, and it happened here in the U.S. Of course, there's like insider information involved with this. The other one I heard in Brazil is this is neat in the sense that it doesn't take money out of anybody's account, but from the bank itself. Because somebody walks to the ATM machine, he knows exactly a location where there is a debugger port kind of thing on the thing, punches a hole there, connects a serial cable, sends a whole bunch of commands through some sort of cheap laptop, just serial interface, the thing starts spilling money. So that's another way to do it.
There was somebody here, I think in the last year, that did a thing on the little ATMs that you see in the stores, not the bank's ATMs, but the little portable ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the default password, so to speak, left on them. So the guy would go in and he would change the setting on what the bills were in the drawer. And everybody uses 20s, but he would change the program to say that they were 5. So when you said you wanted $100, you got 4 times that back.
Yeah, so the comment was that not on the big financial ATM machines, but those that you see on gas stations and stuff. Somebody had a master code that just walked into the ATM, punched this number, and changed the denomination of the bills that were inside that thing. So instead of telling the machine that instead of having $20 bills, it had $5 bills. So when you withdraw $10, actually give you 40. Actually, I have a video for this. That's one of the things that I have the video here. What else? Money stealing on the spot. Well, that's not so much of a problem here, and hopefully stays that way. But some places and that's the thing that I was going to talk. Who pays for the damage, right? Why, at least in Brazil, as far as I know, why did they do all this crazy stuff on? You have to have that special card to take the money and know like the one-time password and stuff like that. The law there says that if you're robbed or if a fraud is committed on the bank premises, that means the ATM, the bank is responsible for it. If it's outside that, that's the user's problem. So that's why they made all these really hard steps for a normal user to take money out. And I have the steps in a few slides. And people hijacking. That's something really sad that happens not only in Brazil, but in Mexico and other places too, that it's called flash hijacking. You're walking on the street, they're like, oh, come here, and they put you in a car and they make you take as much money as you can from all your credit cards and ATM cards and stuff like that. So you have restrictions, for example, from 10 o'clock at night on, you can only take $80 out. Doesn't matter what your limit is. You cannot take more than that, which is not really it's safe, but not convenient. But that was one of the solutions they found. So what's wrong with this ATM?
Fake slot.
Fake slot. Right on. So there's fake slot there. What else is wrong? Besides it looks like espresso machine, but it's not espresso machine.
There's a camera in the brochure. Yeah.
Right on. There we go. So there's the camera there, and the camera looks at the password and whatever the person typed. the PIN number and whatever else the person typed.
Then you have to trap the card then too.
What is it?
You have to trap it.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way thing.
Yeah. And then, of course, so that thing is collecting all the information from the cards, and then they take it out later and read offline. So in that case, was just the slot thing. Sometimes they put the whole cover on top of it. So the solutions, smart cards. Still need the mag stripe. So why? I don't know if it's clonable or not. Where's Adam? So apparently, yeah, you can clone it. You can get the information from one and put on another one that doesn't have anything. Compatibility issues. I thought this wouldn't happen, but within the same credit card authorization network, I tried to use my credit card that had a smart chip on it outside the U.S., and the guy was freaked out because he put it in the machine and it didn't work. I'm like, well, it's because it's a card from the U.S. It's like, yeah, it should work. I'm like, yeah, no crap, it should work, but it doesn't. It's like, no, this is a fake card. I'm like, no, it's not a fake card. Give me my card back. And he swiped and it worked. So inside the same network, apparently there are compatibility issues. But you never know. I put it there because it happened to me. Integration with cell phones. Some banks are using not only for ATM but also for online banking. It's using SMS as the one-time password mechanism. So once you register with your bank, now they have your cell phone. They ask you to confirm your cell phone number. So when you go to the ATM or do some online transaction, it's going to say, we're going to send you this one-time password to your cell phone. And for me, this opens a whole can of worms. Other big problems might happen, right? Cell phone banking itself is happening in some places already. On the internet, I found some places in Europe, South Africa, New Zealand, Brazil is going to start with it. Just one bank is doing it. And Japan apparently is doing that for a while. Also found on the internet that Singular, the new AT&T, is going to offer that in the US shortly. And if you saw Rodney's talk, he mentioned something about this, about the phones having lots of stuff in the cell phone itself, the whole convergency thing, that you have phones doing lots of stuff, from multimedia to anything, which allows the user to begin to be able to install all kinds of crap on the phone, including maybe bad stuff. And so that would be a new attack vector. Another solution, and that's one of the things that I'm going to show the steps to take cash out of ATM machines in some other places other than here. It's not that simple sometimes. And I mentioned this already, restrictions by amount depending on the time of the day. And Zach is going to love this, if I can make it. So this is not too old. Well, it's last year's, but it's not implemented yet. They're going to be using the biometric reading on the ATM machines, which I think is going to be more beneficial for the people to steal the ATM machines for the price of this. But so biometrics to take out money. So this sounds really cool. Apparently it's being used in Japan already, and it works. The only thing reading this that I thought was kind of funny, once to get there, is to protect the privacy and personal information of the user, the registered biometric information itself can be stored in the bank cards. Why? So you're defeating the whole purpose of it, right?
Yeah, here's my big information.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen also, this I've seen all over the place. Websites now, most of the websites have the security thing. Somewhere on the front page of the bank's website, you see something about security. Some are bigger than others. Some have really sometimes videos of how to be secure. and that's cool. But outside of the U.S., I saw some, which I think is really cool stuff for the awareness kind of thing. You see ads on mainstream magazines, on TV, even on billboards saying, don't fall for phishing, or this is how you should use your internet banking and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good idea. But again, they're doing this there because it depends who pays for the damage, right? So taking money in the U.S., everybody knows that. Insert the card, punch the PIN number, select withdraw, take the cash, and go home. In Brazil, one of the ways is you insert the card, punch the PIN number that you know, select the operation, withdraw, then it's going to say, from your other password card, I want to see, please type the password number 39. So you go to your card and you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it asks you to insert the ATM card again, which I don't know why, there must be a reason. And then you can take the cash. And sometimes, depending where you are, you have to run. Another thing that I saw is insert the card, punch the PIN number, and then it's going to ask you something else that you know, either your month of birth, your date of birth, or the year, or something else. Again, for us, it's okay. I feel bad for my mom to have to go to the ATM sometimes. This is a sad story because sometimes I'm a dumbass. I went to one time for work to Caracas, and I didn't have any cash on me. But I said, well, any airport has an ATM machine, right? Correct. Walk to the ATM machine, put the card, punch the PIN number, and then it says, please type your ID, the first 3 digits of your ID. I'm like, what ID? My driver's license? My passport? My what? I know my bank didn't have this information. I used to live in another state when I opened my account, right? End of story is that I had to find another ATM. There was nobody, even the bank couldn't tell me what I had to do. Finally, I found one that asked for the first 3 digits, and I typed 000, and it worked. So that means in our ATM cards here, that field is probably blank, but at the end, it's not. I tried 000 on the ones that were asking the last 3 numbers. We have other junk there. I have some videos to show. How are we doing in time, right? Okay. Okay, it's plenty. Some are not really related to ATMs, but let's... did the wrong thing. Let's do this, it's easier. Is it gonna work?
Organised crime gangs are operating cash machine fraud all
Bear
over
with
the
me
UK.
for a second.
In 2004...
Yeah. Let's use the other one.
Organised crime gangs are operating cash machine fraud all over the UK. In 2004, the total sum of money lost was a staggering £75 million.
Can you see
One of the
something?
most common methods con men use to commit cash point fraud is with a fixed device that is very tricky to spot. Our hustlers are going to demonstrate for our secret cameras how a con artist can rig a cash point with a device that will clone your cash card and enable them to steal money from your account.
One of the
Thanks
most
for
prevalent
technology,
scams
Papi.
in recent years has been the placing of card readers on ATMs. The idea is simple. You put a shell over the ATM so that it looks like a legitimate
Thanks, Papi.
on that device. Victims come up and place their credit card or ATM card into this, enter their code, withdraw money, and then receive their card back. What they don't realize is that in between their transaction is an illegal device that reads every single piece of data on your card and records it.
Hustler Paul, rigged up with a camera hidden in his bag, enters a shop which has a cash machine inside. In his hand he has what is known as a skimming device. Now that the coast is clear, he moves in to fit the device over the card reader slot. This device works in 2 ways. The skimmer is able to read the magnetic stripe of your card. and is fitted with a hidden mini camera that is overlooking the pin pad to record the pin number. Jess now comes to use the cash point ahead of another queuing customer. He will be our first mark. What this move does is to prove subconsciously to the mark that the machine is perfectly safe. Having seen Jess successfully get some cash out, the mark will suspend any possible suspicions that he might have. Now the first mark inserts his card. The skimmer reads his card details whilst the camera clearly captures his 4-digit PIN. His card is returned and he takes his cash. Even though the cash has come out, he's already lost out. His details have been captured by the hustlers, and yet he doesn't suspect a thing. And now comes mark number 2. Again, the machine reads the magnetic stripe on his card, and the camera records his PIN. Once our second mark has collected his cash and left the shop, Paul will move in to collect the skimmer. With 2 sets of card details backed, our hustlers will show us how this becomes a money spinner.
Essentially, the next step after having read the cards and
you guys got the idea, right?
Off the cash machine is downloading all the.
This is on YouTube, so what else is interesting here?
In the UK and indeed all over the world. Even though we have new technology such as chip and pin coming in, it's still incredibly easy to clone credit cards. The general rule is if it can be made, it can be copied.
Jess has got a part-time job waitressing in this cafe, but a cup of coffee here is going to cost rather a lot more than you might think, because this waitress is card cloning. It's time to settle the bill, so Jess brings over the keypad terminal for her customers' card payments. That was clumsy, or was it?
Thank you.
Let's go back and see what Jess is really up to. To the customers, Jess appears as if butter wouldn't melt. But what was she doing in the ladies earlier? It only takes minutes for her to attach a high-tech skimming device that is used by crooks the world over. This reads the magnetic strip on any credit or debit card and stores the details so that they can be used later to make duplicates or even be sold on to organised crime gangs. Jess drops the card on purpose so she can skim it without arousing any suspicion. Here it is again.
Got the idea, right?
From a different angle.
Adam, is this the TV show that you mentioned to me, by the way?
No, I made that.
You made that, okay. I didn't know that you made that, but I figured that was the show that you helped.
现在自动提款机越来越普及了，它在方便大家的同时，也成为一些不法之徒频频下手的目标。
I don't remember what this is. No, it's not going to help. Which one is this? Yeah, this is the same thing as the camera recording. I have another one that is better. This one is better.
好，下面来看我们的独家报道。3天之前呢，这个宁波发生了一起抢劫杀人案件，案发地点呢就在宁波的一家自助银行里面，银行的监控录像记录下了凶杀案的整个过程。这就是凶杀案发生的自助银行。现在让我们重新回到3天之前凶案发生的那个晚上。3月31号晚上7点22分，在宁波工作的彭先生来到了这家位于宁波江东区的自助银行取款。在他刷卡进门之后，另外一名男子趁着玻璃门还没有完全关牢，也走了进来。由于匆忙，还被玻璃门。
That's not suspect at all.
这个男子举动肯定引起了彭先生的警觉，然而他还是把卡插进了取款机。就在彭先生输入密码的时候，身后的男子左手伸进口袋，拿出了一样东西。 开始心慌起来，然后他做出了一个决定，故意输错了密码，使银行卡被取款机吞没。卡被撕之后，取款机里吐出了一张纸条。事实证明，就是这张纸条害了彭先生的命。他身后的男子以为是有钱被取出了，马上采取行动。彭先生试图反抗，对方开始持刀行凶。
It's no technology, right? Yeah, that's the no tech hack, right? And finally, the one that it's interesting. Oh, this. No, not that one. I swear this is the last one. Not that one.
It may be the perfect crime committed in full public view. The crime scene was sitting for more than a week before anybody knew anything was wrong.
This is the first time I've ever heard of anybody doing anything like this.
This is the suspect caught on surveillance camera in that white T-shirt walking from his tan car parked at the pumps. He enters this Crown gas station on Lynnhaven Parkway on August 19th. Inside, another camera catches him making his move.
Yeah, he's walking towards the ATM.
He walks to this mini bank ATM in the corner of the store. On the same keypad every customer uses, he punches in the secret passcode to override the machine.
He has to have intimate knowledge of how this works.
In a crowded store, but with no one the wiser, he uses that secret code to trick the ATM into handing him over free money.
The instrument is thinking that it's putting out a $5 bill when in actuality it's giving him a $20 bill.
Using the keypad, he was able to pull this machine full of $20 bills into thinking it was full of $5 bills. So if you went to withdraw $10, you really end up with $40. But this gentleman was going toward the big money. For every $250 he asked from the ATM, he was really walking away with $1,000. To stay one more step ahead of detectives, their suspect used an untraceable prepaid debit card. So well was this crime pulled off, it took another 9 days after the crime was committed for a good Samaritan who used the same machine to admit she had gotten more money.
Ruin it for everybody!
All these videos I took from YouTube, so feel free to browse there. So, before the conclusion, so you can find also on the internet whatever the guy typed there. It's a combination of it's not a code, not only a number. There's a combination of keys that you have to press that puts the machine in programming mode. And one of the things that you can do in programming mode is change the denomination of the bills. I'm pretty sure there's like some sort of test that spills all the money out. I don't know if they didn't do that. So, conclusion, it's probably going to get worse. What I mean by worse is not that, well, we're screwed. We might, but not necessarily. But everything there's evolution in everything. So online banking, of course, but here, I don't know, I hope the talk was informative, at least to show that outside here, some people, they have to go like a step ahead to simply take money out of an ATM just because of the whole law and cultural differences and stuff like that. And hopefully some places will not change. I mean this in a good way. Like for us here, for example, it works here. Hopefully it will stay the same. And don't be a dumbass like I am and travel without cash hoping that you can just land somewhere and take money out. Questions?
I saw another one of the card cloners where it was actually a thin strip that slid directly in, and it wouldn't work, but it would just copy the card, and then they'd wait for I don't see how it paid off if they weren't getting them in, but.
Yeah, I think this is, so the comment was that he saw one of the cloning devices kind of thing that slid in the slot, right?
It would slide in and it would grab the card, they would put out an error, and then another person would come up and say, oh, I can help you with that.
Same thing or different thing?
Got something related to that. A fellow I know was doing work with this kind of credit card terminal processing company. You see those pretty often. Especially just like a month ago, St. Gabriel Valley, there was a crash that. What it
access mostly their ATM card, not their credit card. That number without the PIN.
True. So the comment was there. Yeah, the comment was there are some people here that saw some devices that would only clone the card. Like the card wouldn't work, but at that point you put the card already. The information has been collected, but it wouldn't work. So the question was why people do that if they don't have the PIN number. The thing is, there are places that you go, like even Starbucks and Walgreens and stuff like that. Up to a certain amount, you don't need a PIN number. So that's for the small kind of stuff that this is done.
Also, there's a device that in the UK is a Lebanese loop. It's basically a little wire that they insert into the slot to track the card on the way out. So you put your card in, and it'll look like the machine swallowed your card, and they'll just come up behind and take it out.
So the thing, another comment from Zach is, in the UK they have a loop that they put to jam the card inside the thing, so it looks like the machine swallowed the card, but actually after you're gone, they can come over and take it out. So then they don't need to clone the card. Anybody else? That's it then. Thank you.